Well, good Thursday evening to you. Chris Hare, the world champion crypto cowboy, bringing you update on Aster, and it begs the big question: is Aster going to zero, or is it going to be the hero of this cycle? We're going to break it down tonight. We're going to go all the way from the here and now up to the long range targets, so don't miss out. We've got a lot to cover. We'll start off with the crypto fear and greed index, just like we do every video. Currently at a 24, was at a 20 yesterday, so we kind of came up even through this dip. I think people are kind of getting optimistic. It looks like we may try to be setting in a higher low, and that would be really good. But the crypto fear and greed index measures market sentiment, tells us when people are scared, when they're euphoric, what's going on. Well, right now, everybody's scared to death. And what I do with this crypto fear and greed index is when we get into fear, I make small purchases in my spot. And then I just sit on them. And if we drop into extreme fear, like we did here, I just buy a little more. And you can see what happens. Eventually, they go on up into greed. And then I DCA out. When they hit extreme greed, I get completely out. But I'm going to DCA out. That way, if we start dropping out of greed, I can get out of them and the trades are closed. But I went ahead and added a bit Unix exchange tonight just to show you kind of what I'm doing. I put 60 bucks in Ethereum, 60 bucks in Solana yesterday at 20. Now we're down just a little bit, but we're going to work our way up surely. Right now it's down about 3% on Solana and about the same on Ethereum, but we'll keep up with this every night and in every video, and we'll just see what happens. But now let's move on to an altcoin season index. This is pretty relevant considering the Aster and what it is. And currently right now we're in a Bitcoin season all the way in at a 22. Yesterday we were at a 24, so we pulled in even more. People are scared. I think some people are capitulating out of altcoins, and that's kind of where we're at. But what we really need to see is this get up into the lighter and darker blues. Like last month we hit a 63, and then back in November we went all the way up to 87 during that face melting run. But we'll go on over to a liquidation heat map for Aster. This is what market makers use to track your liquidity. They move the charts up and down. They're just looking for pockets of liquidity to eat up. They don't care where you are. Everything above price action is a short trade. Everything below price action is a long trade. And you can see there's a little bit, not a whole lot. It's a small cap, so it's not going to show up quite as well. But cumulatively, we've got $20.99 million of short liquidations and about 18 million worth of long liquidations. So there's a little bit of imbalance to the top side, but not much. It begs to question what's going on. But we'll get on into the charts. I post all of these charts in the crypto school. You'll find a link to that in my description. Also post signals. We've done really well this week. Kind of been sitting out the last 2 days though, kind of waiting to figure out what's going on. But looking at the Aster chart on the hourly, you can see we've kind of fell down below the 50 simple and the 50 smoothed moving average. That takes 50 of these candles, puts a fluid line on the chart, works as excellent support and resistance. Right above us is the 200 moving average. That takes 200 of these candles, does the same thing. So where do we go from here? Well, if we can cross these 50s on the hourly, our next stop is around $1.03, $1.09. And if we can consolidate in there, get above the 200 moving average, I think we're headed up to $1.26 to $1.38. If we come up here and reject this, we're probably going to come on down to 95.3 cents or 89.3 cents to this hourly golden zone. And if we can't hold that, you're looking at 71 to 59 cents. And that kind of gives you some short range ideas of what's going on. Moving out to the 4 hour, I think we're kind of at a bottom. It begs to question if we come back down. You can see we've been pulling back since like late September. So we've pulled back all through the month of October. So much for a green October, guys. But we've kind of closed above the 4 hour 50 simple moving average here. We've yet to get over the 50 smooth moving average. So the difference is the 50 smooth moving average takes a composite of the 50 simple and the 50 exponential, which I don't use because it doesn't really serve me well, and puts a composite fluid line on the chart. And you can see it really respects those. It tried to break above it twice. Never really did. Now it looks like it might be trying again. I really don't think we go much lower than this, but we had those hourly targets that may pan out. If we can get above this, get across the new 200 smooth moving average, that sits at around $1.39.8. Next stops are going to be 181 to 208, on up to 287 to 343. Moving out to the daily, we'll get a little better picture. I know there's not a lot of information, but we'll do what we can with what we have. You can see we made the huge run up. I believe it was up, I don't know, 2,500%, maybe even more than that. Crazy numbers. But we've pulled back ever since, and that's expected. Usually you expect these to pull back to the 50% level, and it went ahead and went on down to the golden zone, the 786. Tried to fall out of it, but reclaimed it. Now we're working up, so it looks like we're kind of heading up to these upper targets. So once again, we'd be looking for $1.83, $2.11 in the longer term, all the way up to $2.91 to $3.47. If this thing can take a run, I can see $5 pretty easy, but that's another conversation for another time. But that gives you a really good idea on Aster for tonight. That'll get you covered for the next few days. When it makes a move, we'll come back and we'll circle around, recover it again. But like I said, all these charts are in the crypto school. You'll find a link to that description in my description. You'll also find a link to BitUnex. If you need to get started on the trading, work on the stuff we talked about, I've got a link to BitUnex. They give you a cashback deposit, and there's some incentives and some better deals on your commissions. But there's also a link to my X. Go ahead and check that out. I post random thoughts throughout the day. But I'm going to wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, go ahead and like, subscribe, tap the bell notification. You'll get updates as soon as we upload a video. And don't forget to leave us a comment. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and we really enjoy reading those. So I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I'll follow up in a few days. Once again, Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy, and we'll see you down the road.